Welcome back everyone, Mark Sargent again, and we will fine-tune our skin, especially the jaw area. Let me undo this, and we will create a couple new layers to hide away some of the points we are not really want to see all the time, and of course the muscles. Now how to do it? So first thing, let me select one of the muscle and one of the handle of the muscle. Now we have two selected, and I'm pressing Control Q. Control Q is for selecting similar elements, and now I'm pressing Alt Q. I want to isolate those. Isolation is a good way to check and really see what you have selected. Now this is about 32 elements, 32 helpers, and let me open up my layer manager, layer explorer. And these are just selected, so let me hit on create new layer, and now we have a new layer created, and this layer will be named as Fred Rig and Muscles. Alright, let me make this default layer active. So by switching the layer indicator, you can set the active layer. Let me close this back. I don't want to see these anymore, so if I turn off the visibility, these will disappear. But don't forget we are in isolation mode, so let me exit isolation mode. Okay, and these elements, these should be also hidden. So select these three, and process is the same. Just creating a new layer. Create a new layer, and that will be Fred, Rig, and helpers. Okay, now let me turn off the visibility, and something interesting is happening here because we have a default layer active, and the new layer is within the default layer, so let me just drag and drop it outside, and now we have this Fred, Rig, helpers layer outside of this default one. Let me make that default active back again. Alright, so that's the main layer. Whenever we are creating something new, for example a simple box, this box will be placed on the active layer. So this is the reason we want to keep an eye on this. Okay, we don't need the layer manager anymore, so let me close this to free up some space, and take a look at the skinning process. So the mesh is selected, and skinning an envelope, and F4 to see the wires. And so this is what we have. The previous lessons we had no textures, so because of that this one is a little bit darker. So if we don't like it, we can open up Material Editor and turn off the shading. So let me turn this off. And now it's a little bit brighter, so if you are disturbed, you want to see this, and visibility is important, we can turn this off. Okay, now let me clean up a couple things. So first of all, let me move the head a bit. Okay, and not just the head, but I'm curious about the behavior of the rib cage. So the rib cage is selected, and let me isolate the model now because I don't want to see everything, but I want to see this distortion here on the back. The reason is we can start the second stage of the skinning process. So here comes the second stage of skinning. This is about painting. So we will paint some of the blending between the envelopes. For that, envelopes are active. We have first of all, what you need to know that every vertex has an ID, and because of that, each of the vertices will receive a kind of a map that shows the affecting bones. So for example, here I have this particular vertex, and this particular vertex is influenced by the Fred Rig head, Fred Rig jaw, and many other things. Okay, So what we need to know, this is the vertex actually. So this was highlighted here. Let me select the next one. So these are the two vertices that's shown in this table. Now it is really a pain to manually adjust these values here. So it's great for troubleshooting, for example, this table, but it's just in a very detailed way to make adjustments. Instead of this solution, we can use the envelopes as the first tactics, but then we can also choose this paint weights option. So paint weights option is enabled, so now we have this brush available. But let me open up the settings dialog, because there are a couple things I want to discuss here. So you can paint symmetrically directly, but you can't use symmetry if the figure is off symmetry. So if the figure is animated and moving, you don't want to use a symmetry. What we can do is actually, here we have a kind of a blending issue. The blending is not that smooth here. So we have pretty straight vertices, and here it's just suddenly these are just start moving. I want to create a nice softer transition between this hip area and the spine area or any other areas. So let me exit, right click. I don't want to paint now. Let me select the hip area, and probably I should paint here a little bit more. So my main issue is between the spine and the rib cage. Okay, so here I want to clean up this transition. So paint weights, let me go back to the 0. Let me choose mirror. So mirroring is on, and usually I like to check if it's okay, if it's working fine or not. Sometimes this mirror value, this offset, should be tweaked. So let me go back, and no, it's working fine. So I can go back to perspective and start painting. Now right at this stage, I'm painting with blend weights. What does it mean? When I start blending, it is actually a quite soft, it's not a strong influence, it's not a strong effect. You will not see these vertices I'm painting here will become red. This blend weights is actually equalizing the values. So when I'm starting moving this now, the movement will be a little bit softer. So can you see the transition here now is a little bit softer. We still have some jags here and there. So what I will do, I will revert it back, paint the transition here. So use this blend weights. So I'm clicking and clicking, going over this. And let me do it again, and as you see now, this one is also smoothed out. So when you are using paint blend weights, this is a very soft way to affect transitions between the envelopes. The benefit of using this is because you can't adjust fall-offs asymmetrically. So a fall-off is an all-round kind of radiation. But when you are painting weights, when you're using this paint blend weights, you can alter the symmetry. You can alter the influence of these bones a little bit. All right, so it can create nice transitions through the deformation. So here we go. There's another area. Here's this too much of a stretch. So what I will do is let me turn off paint blend weights, select the neck area, and let me go back. And the problem with the neck is that the neck is influencing the back of the head quite a bit, but the side is not that, so it's not that strong. I want to add more weight to this area. So paint blend weights active, and let me go back in here and working on the transition a little bit more. Alright, so it is important that I'm using my left clicks time to time. I'm clicking in. When you're just clicking in and holding on, it will be a little bit different. It will not add on. It will not build up the strength. So you have to click again, and paint that way. Alright, now let me check what we did. So probably the transition will be a little bit smoother. Here we have a little bit of a stress, so let me paint this area a little bit more. And okay, it's fairly nice. It is really hard to paint this area because right now the movement is just maximized. So there's so many moves of the head. Also the chest is rotating. Also the arms are rotating. So it's a quite dense situation. Okay, now let me go back. And this is practically the way you can paint blending weights. So you have to have the actual bone selected, the actual envelope selected. And if you want to add to the envelope, you can use this blend weights. If you want to remove, you can change this max strength to a negative value, or you can use the Alt key to subtract. So that way you can remove from that. But it will be a little bit easier to recognize once we start painting the head, because the head is a different story. So select the head envelope, make paint blend weights, and now we will turn off paint blend weights. So we will turn off this paint blend weights. Why? Because we want to strongly affect, we want to have a heavy influence on our painting. The reason is I don't want to include the jaw, because the head part will only deform the head, and the jaw has its separate bone, its separate envelope. So the size of the brush is a little bit too big. So instead of going up here and change the minimum size, maximum size, Control and Shift and drag the mouse button will reduce the radius. If I'm pressing Alt, I can remove. I'm holding down Alt and painting this. Let me say this, painting away from selection. Okay, so yeah, it's quite nice. Okay. As you see, because blend weights is turned off, the effect is fairly strong. Now, if we want to make it a little bit smoother, what we can do is, when the paint blend weights is turned off, usually the max strength value becomes too much. So 1 is too much. I like to use 0.2 or 0.2 or points depending on your operation system, which one works for you. So let me add some more, and Alt and subtract. So it is a little bit softer, so we can have more room to make the adjustments. Alright, now time to select the jaw, actually. So paint blend weights turned off. Paint weights turned off. Let me select the other envelope. Now the other envelope has changed its influence. So because we modified the envelope of the head, we modified the influence of the head bone, the vertices are just so actually the effect and the strength of this bone will become much more prominent, much more visible because of this change with the painting. Okay, so it's time to test it. So what we can do is let me turn on animations, isolating, revert isolation. Let me leave skin, select the jaw, and turn on Auto key N for animating. And let me move this to keyframe 10 and switch to rotation mode in local. So Alt right click, local mode, and let me open up the jaw. Okay, so this is what happens. it is still a little bit odd. So what we do need, we have to have some kind of an other type of selection, something else that's a little bit even more accurate than the painting system. So I will use that. Let me go back 0. Here's the mouth that's opening. Auto key is turned off, so N, auto key turned off. And it's time to fix that. So let me choose this painter panel and open up and look for something else. Select the figure, select the envelopes, because that is the edit mode. And choose this weight tool. So weight tool is a very smart and easy way to adjust weights for vertices. Now here comes the big question. How can we access to vertices? Because right now the subobject, we have no subobject, only one. There's just envelopes. We can't edit and can't select vertices. I don't know what's the reason and why it doesn't happen, but you have to walk up and look for a select method, and within the select method, then you can enable vertices, and now you will be able to select vertices. Alright, this is a little bit odd, I know, but just please remember that you have to walk up under the parameters and turn on select and turn on vertices. Now this single vertex is selected. Now when you have the weight tool open and you have a selection, so you have to have a pending selection, it will tell you that that particular vertex or those vertices are influenced by two of the bones. So this vertex is influenced by the rig head bone, and the amount is 67%, and 32% of the influence of the jawbone. So what we want to do is, I'm absolutely sure that this point is 100% belongs to the head. Okay, there's no doubt about that. So what we can do is we can select multiple points and make sure that all of these are set to 100% or 1 as an indicator of the percentage. To make it a little bit faster, we can select a couple elements, couple points, couple vertices in a row. So let me select a few here and there. Okay, so these 5 vertices are selected, and I can click on grow. Alright, grow a couple times. Now grow again. Okay, because these vertices are absolutely sure will belong 100% to the head. Okay, if you are not, if you want to check your selection, you can press F3, function key 3, to see through the model. And as you rotate, don't forget to rotate. It usually gives you a good information about the selection of the points. Okay, and now set those to 1. So rig head is the selected bone, and it says the influence is 1, but it's not really true, because you can even see the color changes. So let me set it to 1, and now every vertices will pick the head bone as a parent bone. Now we will do the opposite on the lower lip. So 5 points selected here in the lower lip. Let me choose grow, and even more, grow even more. Let me go through the same process, F function key 3, look around, look what we have in the selection, and now just let me make sure that the jawbone is selected. Okay, so I don't want to tie these vertices to the head. I want to tie these vertices to the jaw. So let me select the jaw, and let me tell these points that, okay, you are 100%. That means 1 value are influenced by the jawbone. Okay, let me test the movements. And here we go. Here we go. The mouth is opening up. Okay, And because we don't want to see the rig at this stage, we can isolate. And that can help a lot to clean up a few things. Okay, so clean up, like, let me select these points here. And we can actually start growing these and tell, okay, we want to add these to the Joe as well. Okay, so it's fairly nice. We can select these points. I'm working symmetrically, so all of my selections are symmetrical. Let me start using the grow again. And okay, and add to the Joe, 100%. Okay, fairly nice, fairly nice. Yes, we need to work on the blending here, but these particular points are really tied to the Joe. So this point, these are absolutely trouble. So let me grow the selection a little bit, and even more, and make sure that all of these are belonging to the head bone. So head, number 1, 100%. It's great. Okay, now here we have these. These should be influenced by the head bone, no, jaw bone, but this time I'm not sure that 100% is required. Okay, because it's fairly close to the corner of the mouse. So instead of keeping it at 1, let me give it a 0.9, so that is 90%. And it will create a little bit of a nicer touch to this. So here, these are actually corner of the mouth areas. It's hard to see. I'm not sure that the selection is perfect. So it's pretty hard to select. Okay, let me select this one instead, and also this one on the other side. Okay, these two are selected. Let me hit on grow, and these should be somewhere about 50%. So it's not really working that way. So the main rig head is influencing them 100%. Let me change it to 0.9, so 90%. Okay, it's a little bit better. All right, now, so here comes the next part. What to do with this area? Okay, what to do with this area? The opening is fairly good. It's just by adjusting these, we have a pretty convincing result, but still an area is stretched out too much. So here we have some kind of a blend, a mix issue. So what we can do is we can select one point here. Let me look around and select the other point on the opposite side. Okay, it was not that. So Alt and Control click. Yeah, that's the same. Let me adjust, add some grow. Okay, and here is one trick. What we can do is we can hit on blend. Now blending is actually, it does the same as with the painting, but we can do it with a vertex selection. So let me add another blend. Okay, and the result is a much smoother opening for that particular part. Okay, here we have kind of an issue because the speed of the movement here, it's not that good. So let me select this particular vertex. The opposite side, it's coming from here, so it's coming from here. Here we go. So we are opening this up. This is it. Okay. Yeah, and add some grow, and we'll do the same blend. So blend, opening, and it's much believable now. All right, it's fairly natural. Here we have an issue, so we need to fix that. in the end. I don't know what's causing that, so let me select this single. Yeah, we have a neck influence. Probably the neck influence is not needed, so let me zero that out. No, actually it will be the opposite. Okay, so the jaw is opening fairly nice, but at the moment when you start rotating the head, some of the vertices will just create some trouble here. The surface is just not that nice and continuous anymore. The reason is that because we painted this area previously in the second stage with the envelope stage, some of the vertices are just not really clean. So the blend is there, but it's not. Some of them are not influenced enough on the go. So what we can do and what we have to do is we can just test the movement. All right, mouth opening is fairly nice. The weight tool, what we did with the weight tool is actually done, so it's fair work. But when we want to open it up, we have to fix this. So for that, we can actually turn on the paint weights, but don't forget, if we want to fix it in pose, and right now it will help us a lot to fix this in pose, we have to turn off the mirror, okay? Because other than if the mirror is on, we can actually just create a bigger mess. So what we have to do is turn off the mirror, and when the figure is in position, we will try to fix this particular area. Now, if you haven't selected the envelope of the jawbone yet, it's time to select it. We can go back, paint weights, and the value is 0.2. There is no paint blend weights turned on, so it's not turned on. Right now, I'm adding these vertices under the influence of the jawbone. So when I'm clicking on, it will add the weight. It will include them under the influence of the jaw. So I'm just carefully clicking, and this is why I like to use a fairly low value, 0.2, because it's actually 20%. Okay, so this is a nice blend. Now test the movement. So jaw open. Okay, works fine. Rotation of the head, stretch of the neck, it is also working fine. If you want to quickly use a smoothing option, like you want to use a paint blend temporarily, you can hold down the Shift key and click in there. So Shift is a kind of a blending function, or Alt is a negative. Alright, we don't want to subtract here, so I will not use that. But to clean up this area, I will turn off this paint blend weights, select the point, go to the weights tool, let me close this one, and add some grow. Probably this point, and this point, add grow, and try to blend them. Okay, some like that, some don't. Here, oh, we have a neck influence. Let me zero out the neck influence. That causes the trouble. Here, this point, okay, neck influence. No, we don't need that. Also, we don't need the neck influence there as well, so 0. This is why we have to have the manual options. Right. Oh, yeah. So these are the tools to fix things, test out things, and check if the mouth opening works. For example, yeah, it's working. Can we rotate the head? Yeah. So you can use these tools anywhere on the figure to fix troubled areas. So thank you very much, and see you next time. Goodbye.